Geometry Dash has had countless disasters, from a single object making a level impossible to a scandal that destroyed the accounts of millions. Today I'm going to go over 5 tiers of disasters, from minuscule all the way up to destructive. The year is 2014. A major update had recently been released, Update 1.8, adding many anticipated features like the dual portal. While simple at first, this would allow for many gimmicks to flourish, the most notorious of which being the swing copter. This unofficial game mode is commonly executed by having one gravity ball surrounded by blue orbs. Since blue orbs switch to gravity, the ball on the bottom of the screen can flip air, dubbed the swing copter. This game mode had potential, so it was inevitable that a controversial figure named Sari would take this concept and would use it in his upcoming creation, Red World. Remember the gravity ball? Well, this stage would start off with it, and while you weren't in a duel yet, it would still prove to be challenging, as you need to carefully time your clicks to land on the edges of these slabs. The rest of the level would be a brutal challenge, featuring the infamous swing copter later into the level. However, the first section of the level would be special. There's something you have to know about Sari. Sari was one of the leading players at the time, outperforming many competitors against him. While he had a massive lead, he was quickly growing tired of the game, with Red World testing the developer, Liftoff. If this map was rated by Liftoff, allowing for the level to receive stars, then he would continue playing. But there's something in the way, a certain update. With the release of Update 1.9, a very specific change was made. Those slabs you heard about earlier were changed to not have collisions, meaning that players couldn't land on them. With that, the second input of the level was now impossible. Obviously, Rob wouldn't rate an unbeatable level, and so, over time, Sari and his infamous creation would be forgotten. Years later, Liftoff would give the go-ahead for a moderator, Paz, to update old impossible levels, with Red World being one of Paz's targets. By just replacing a single object, Red World was easily fixed and immediately rated, showing that Rob had taken a keen interest in this mysterious creation. While it is unknown whether this was the impact from Red World or not, Rob would be inspired by the Swing Copter game mode, and will release it in the upcoming update, as an official mode to the roster. Sari indirectly helped popularize the game mode, and because of that, this has been the least disastrous event so far, with many worse to come. Hopping a few years in advance, another popular creator was taking the community by storm. Despite how awful some of his levels were, it seemed like he had a firm grasp over the creating scene. Each level was grossing millions of downloads, and his next creation, dubbed Black Blizzard, was on pace to do the same. Carmel had left a track record of failed top 1s, and wanted to test his skill once and for all with this stage. Could he do it? Over the following months, he would continuously tease the level, until surprisingly it was stolen. Some mysterious figures were intrigued by the level's potential success, and wanted to take some for themselves, hacking into his account and publicly releasing the level. Now, Carmel had been keeping the song's creator a mystery to avoid any unneeded attention towards this hidden gem of an artist, but with it public, many would flood to the artist's page, opening heated controversy for Carmel. With all this drama, Carmel gave up, nerfing the level. The level was stunningly beautiful, featuring many monochrome yet creative sections, but fell flat in terms of difficulty. With the nerfs, the level became more accessible to the average top player. There's an unofficial rule of Geometry Dash. Whatever becomes top 1 for extensive periods of time molds a future of the hardest levels. The level is impactful and sparking passion in many up-and-coming creators, but who knows how much this level's reach could have been. An unfortunate manhunt for some quick spotlight limiting its reach later, and the level would be verified, placing in the top 10. Countless dramas had ensued, with Carmel risking his reputation. This wasn't all bad though, as the artist Creo would go viral after this single level. While the situation was terrible for Carmel, the level wasn't entirely swayed negatively, as a generation of levels would be created using Creo's tracks. This is why I'm placing this at a vulnerable tier 2. Now we're gonna get to things that impacted the game not for months, but years. This is going to be interesting. You've likely heard of the infamous creation, Silent Clubstep, even if you don't play the game actively. The level is beyond popular, but many players don't know its intriguing origin. To delve into this obscure failure in history, let's take a closer look by stepping into this time machine and discovering what lies ahead. A few weeks after the release of Update 1.6, Silent had noticed a unique level in the rated tab, a supposed silent club. Intrigued, Silent opened the level, only to be greeted by some of the hardest Geometry Dash gameplay ever laid eyes upon. To earn a couple percentage points to your score, you have to do this nearly impossible orb spam 3 times in the level. It's clear this level wasn't meant to be possible. It was simply a showcase of how brutal Geometry Dash can get. This inspired Salient, and he opened the level editor. What you're observing here is Salient constructing a stage. Just don't be loud. You don't want to mess with the space-time continuum. What Salient was cooking was nothing short of torture for any player that would dare enter this realm. Hours later, Salient is ready to upload his level. Obviously, Salient wasn't able to beat his level, so uploading it would be impossible, unless he used a certain cheat engine. This was very risky though, as it was possible the engine could corrupt the level. If performed right, however, the level could successfully be uploaded onto the servers. Unfortunately, Salient was in the wrong timeline. Imagine hours of your creation disappearing from existence. Your magnum opus would never be seen by anyone. Ever. Out of a fit of rage, Salient would piece by piece begin recreating the level from memory. Something was different this time, however. The level seemed far worse, with gameplay solely driven by rage. As you can see, viewer, Salient's short burst of anger is slowly cooling off, and the level is returning back to normal. You may notice a couple flashbacks, causing a couple difficulty spikes, but nothing as excruciating as the beginning. Salient goes for round 2 against the hack client, and to his surprise, the level is uploaded. Soon, many players just like you flock to this labyrinth of difficulty. Everyone is just as surprised as you are. How was this completed? While it was widely speculated that Salient had hacked the level, that didn't stop players from attempting to do the impossible. Players would struggle with this version of the level for years, until in 2020, a revelation would occur. A growing figure named Ice Cave was fascinated by the level, but was disappointed that players couldn't progress very far, as similar to Red World, parts of the level were impossible. Despite it being over 6 years since the level's release, Ice Cave would successfully nudge Salient to update the level, to re-envision the level's original difficulty. Over time, 2 players Vision and Packway began racing to finish off Silent Clubstep, and finally, over 7 years after when the level was first released, the verifier would be decided, and the level would place at number 4. Keep in mind, this was made way before levels like Bloodbath, which are in the top 300 now. It's insane to think how one single failed upload attempt led to years of this level's delayed release. Similarly to Black Blizzard, if verified at the right place at the right time, it could have placed at number 1, but unfortunately that event would never occur. Who knows? Imagine had Ice Cave not let Salient know. We would have still been getting a few minuscule percentages on the level. For all the failed upload attempts, fits of rage, and years of delay, I'm gonna place this at a troubling tier 3. It makes me wonder though, how catastrophic can this get? What if this didn't extend to just one level, but the entirety of the game? If you've ever played a map on your phone, you might have noticed that the icon is a lot harder to control. You'll occasionally receive the generous lag spike from Liftoff himself, or the ship mode is a lot more uncontrollable. Well, this is usually due to phones running on lower frames per second. Now, I'm not gonna bore you with how it operates, but know that higher FPS usually means your movements and inputs are more accurate. Now imagine if we harnessed that and somehow brought wealth and equality into Geometry Dash. Yeah, here's how this all unfolded. During the event of levels like Bloodbath being verified in 2015, many players tried to capture the level's difficulty by creating a demon list. These levels would be ranked by how hard top players claimed they were, and usually were ran by 1 or 2 users with very inaccurate placements. Slowly though, the demand for these kinds of lists began growing, and so, an entire website would be created to supply the growing demand. The community became so reliant on the demon list that some guidelines that were created were seen as official, despite never being endorsed by Liftoff. This didn't help that at the time, they claimed to be the official version, when in reality, it was the furthest from the truth. Over the years, the demon list would attempt to be more accurate, but it still had some flaws, and the team was about to make a controversial decision that would play the game's player base for years. This would get so massive that Liftoff would indirectly leave his take. One day, members of the community woke up to see a new rule added: no FPS bypass. So is all FPS banned? How can a game even run? Well, no. While your $2,000 PC you bought for a silly $4 game did have a pre-installed FPS, this could be bypassed by a plugin. This plugin that could apply 360 FPS would act nearly identically to a monitor that displayed that much. However, the community was very quick to pick sides. You had entire Twitter accounts created for the Democratic or Republic sides, with the Democrats claiming that they'd allow freedom to prosper, with FPS bypass being unbanned. Why was this banned in the first place though? Well, many players assumed it was a cheat like like no other, similar to noclip or speed hack. However, banning FPS bypass is a real issue. There are people out there who can't afford to blow out thousands of dollars on a good computer just to improve at a game. You are actively slicing thousands of potential top players out of contention just because FPS bypass seemed like a cheat. That is pay to win. This is Skolo, a name you probably haven't heard of if you're a new player, because he hasn't been a top player for years. During 2018, Skolo was reaching his peak in the midst of this band still existing. Buoy had just verified a top 1 demon named Bloodlust after years of playing, and the question of who could complete it first was on everyone's mind. Unfortunately for Skolo, he was a 60 FPS player, which was a massive handicap, especially for a level that relied so much on the ship. Tired of stagnation, he would use FPS bypass, and after 2 weeks, he would become the first ever player to beat Bloodlust, only behind Boy himself. What took Boy years took Skolo far less. Unfortunately, due to him using FPS bypass, he was crowned illegitimate, and his record wasn't accepted. How foolish. If this occurred nowadays, his record would be accepted, but due to him being in the wrong place at the wrong time, Skolo never got the attention he deserved and faded into obscurity. With many completions disapproved due to using the so-and-so cheat, many players assume that this rule is permanent. Liftoff never endorsed it, yet it gained so much power. Years later, Liftoff would indirectly spin the community on their heads. It was subtly shown that in Update 2.2, you will be able to change your in-game FPS, rendering this rule completely obsolete. This meant that the rule now contradicted the upcoming update, and so on April 11th, 2021, after months of debate, players would finally be free to use FPS bypass. This almost instantly led to an increase in the community's skill, and we haven't slowed down since then. Players were pushing limits back then, but now it's to its fullest effect. Records like Skolo's completion would finally be added, but by now it was far too late. It's insane to think how one small project started on some forum pages gained so much authority over the community that years of potential growth was halted. We have progressed even when the ban was still there. However, imagine how much history we could have written. Imagine the levels we could have conquered. Imagine the players that would have succeeded. This is why I'm gonna place this at a dangerous tier 4. Years of stagnation just for the rule to be reverted in the end. This could have been worse, however. Imagine where we would have been had the list kept the ban active. Failed potential and years of stagnation. What could possibly be worse than this? The year is 2017. You open the servers and decide to play a few maps. As you continue playing, you feel uneasy. Something isn't right. You feel like something has gone horribly wrong. Well, it all started a couple months earlier. You see, programmers were beginning to show their potential, with many popular figures finding exploits. They soon realized that if they grouped together, they could find exploits at an unimaginable pace, and soon a group was created by the name of Team Hacks. It wouldn't be long, however, until Team Hacks would find itself in a war of attrition with Liftoff. This was still when Liftoff was updating the game consistently, with minor patch notes that directly tackled Team Hacks' exploits. However, it was a losing battle. Rob was outnumbered and he eventually stopped trying to counter Team Hacks. Now they could flourish. It wouldn't be long before members of Team Hacks would notice insane flaws in the server's code that, if used maliciously, had the potential to damage the servers permanently. Quickly, they would attempt to contact Liftoff, even sending him ways to patch up these bugs. Despite this, however, Liftoff actively ignored these members and they were only able to contact him through very specific moderators. Even if he did reply, he would occasionally claim that their suggestions would jeopardize the security of the server, and their prompts would be ignored. Meanwhile, the Team Hacks server was beginning to have a power struggle, with many members being exiled out of their clan out of fear of malicious intent. Some of these members felt betrayed, and began plotting revenge not only against Team Hacks, but also Rob. So it wouldn't be long until catastrophe would strike. Many anonymous Team Hacks members would slowly begin an attack on the servers, with Wave 1 soon starting. Some of these members would publicly stream them hacking accounts and leaking many upcoming creations, with chat members egging them on. These anonymous members would quickly be annihilated by Twitch themselves. Now, all attacks would be behind closed doors. This is a green user. While you can create an account in geometrydash to receive a gold username, it used to not be like this. Rob allowed members to not have to register an account by using a system that uniquely identified you based on your device, dubbed the green user. Many Team Hacks members would dump thousands of green user accounts, and following an incident a couple days later, Wave 2 would strike, being the worst one thus far. thousands of green users would be merged into team hacks, seizing thousands of levels overnight. Due to a coding error, this change was irreversible, and many comets and accounts were wiped off the face of the earth. Rob couldn't restore the creations to the original players, so millions of levels were thrown into a deleted account, which is why you might notice players with the name Dash nowadays. Fortunately for the community, we would never have to face a third wave, with Rob finally taking action and restoring millions of accounts, with the unfortunate side effect of many being ran by impersonators. Geometry Dash's deadliest catastrophe had just unfolded, forcing Rob to install more security in the servers. While an occasional small-scale attack does occur, it's far and few between, and it's safe to say that it will never ever happen again. With years of history being wiped, thousands of accounts stolen, many upcoming creations being leaked, it's no surprise that this absurd situation is awarded the honor of Tier 5. While we've had many disasters throughout the years, nothing even comes remotely close to this situation. RobTop ignoring security concerns, malicious members being exiled, and some cheering bystanders all perfectly aligned to allow for all these waves to occur. These disasters have shown that minuscule events could have massive effects. Let's hope some of these never ever happen again. Thanks for watching.